I was like, hey, what is it? And then just by just talking it out, drinking some water, will stay awake. It'll get better. Okay, we'll continue with the user model. I focus on the user model because just focus to explain the necessity of password. So earlier we learned about this utility password. We know that there's something called bcrypt that we can use. Right? There's something called a virtual attribute password, so that we don't have to store password in the database, but we store password digest. Okay, there is a unique property where we say bcrypt password dot create, and you pass in some string, my password. You notice every time you run it, it's different. That's by design. That's to make it difficult, right, for you to pre-generate all the possible password encryption. Imagine if I have a database, I can just go password create on all the words in that dictionary. Then that's bad, right? That's why even if it's the same word, it generates different keys. So how can it do it, right? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So there's a bit of a magic here, that inside the string, right, there is a way to see how the password is generated, so that it can compare and generate this one and compare two generated strings. They may look different, but it's smart enough to know it's the same password. So for example, if you do it here, it's true, right? And I'm not going to go into it, but if we do Ruby bcrypt gem, for those who are curious, you should read the section on why this is necessary. So here's the background. Okay, normally if you just take a password and you turn it into some random string, it's called gibberish. Gibberish means just like trash, random, the gibberish, no one understands what it is, but it's very unique. Let's say if you just have a function, you hash it, map a user password into some unique stuff, right? So next time you can always compare two things together by calling hash on them, right? However, right, so you can call, for example, take the old gibberish, the old passwords already, you save the digest. You can take the new password the user enter and you can compare, right? That is the simplest way to think about it. For example, in the previous lecture, we talk about using the reverse string. It's just as simple as that. However, right, this approach has a weakness. There's something called a rainbow table, is that you can calculate all possible words you can think of and put them in a dictionary of all possible gibberish, all generated strings. Then basically you can just, if I look at any encrypted password, if I have a very big table, I can probably find out what the original password is. Okay. Now this part, I don't expect you to all understand that, but still, do try to read down until here to understand that if all the hash return the same gibberish string here, there is a little bit of problem here. LinkedIn had this problem. LinkedIn was not using bcrypt, they use a SHA encryption, so it's fast encryption, so it's faster than bcrypt. So it makes it easy to pre-compute, generate all the common words you can think of, all the common password you can think of. And also, LinkedIn was using the same what's called the password salt, the default SHA, that basically it's possible for them, they could guess that, okay, I can just convert and compare the gibberish together. So the idea here is, every time, to improve the solution, is every time you want to convert something into gibberish, you want to random it even more by adding in a thing called salt. So every time you generate the password, it's a different value. It's like getting the current time in second, and then decide, okay, what's the current time? Oh, and then I randomize it. So each time you get a very different string. So this is your gibberish string, but it's improved. There's just way too many options. You cannot just pre-generate it this way, right? I don't want someone to be able to just know what an encrypted version of my password is. There are just a lot of them, right? So how does it do it? It uses something called salt, and it encrypt into this uniqueness. And it's interesting because it stores that in this string as well. It will store that in this long string. You see that there are a few $sign here, the cost, and then there's a way for it to store in the database. And automatic. So there, bcrypt Ruby will handle it. There's a hidden way for it to just store how it knows the salt and how it can compare to encrypted passwords.
Is it basically like a second encryption, but this time it's a two-way encryption after the first one?
It's not a second encryption. It's a way they store the salt so that they can, when they compare two two password, the already encrypted version and the new password, it can compare, it knows what salt to add. So imagine, for example, if I compare this string, okay, which is this, with my password, the way bcrypt does it is that it look into the string and it say, what is the salt in this string? So, like Oscar say, oh, is it an encrypted one? Yes, the salt is hidden somewhere. Maybe it's related to this string, maybe it's in the file, somewhere it's stored somewhere. It could be obvious somewhere here. I actually don't know. But it's somewhere in here that it's like, there's a salt. And now you use that salt to encrypt this guy. And then now you will get the similar, right? It's as if that's a salt. Oh, so it's come from the string itself. So now you use this salt to encrypt the my password string. You see, remember last time we have a cost? It turns out the salt is the front part of the string, really. The front part. This, and then anything after that is the encrypted password.
But if your password is longer than the encrypted password, it's still the same thing.
Yeah, good question, no? So let's say if you have this to be really long, through encryption, you know that like it just encrypt to this unique value. You know how in Git you have a SHA, so Git log, maybe the long format. Let me try to get the long string here. Oh, I don't have it. You view on GitHub, right? You know your GitHub SHA. Your entire project folder is compressed and sort of is hashed into this one single hash. It's unique. If you make any changes, it's going to hash you a different string. So yes, the good math is that no matter how big your content is, it can still generate this very short string at the end here. This one, that hash is unique. It's just that's math. Now recently there's someone who proved that it's possible for SHA to have a collision, and that is like extremely unlikely, but somehow first this happened this year. SHA is supposed to be the fastest way to like take any text is very big, hash it into a small string, and that string represent a unique state of the whole big text. But this is pretty cool that somehow if you ever want to find out, like, for conclusion, it's very hard to to find the two texts, two projects that have the same file. It's still pretty much guaranteed to be impossible. So this is this is obviously people no longer use this SHA-1 though. So everyone's using SHA-256 now, so it's still guaranteed. GitHub is using this. Okay. So it's just fascinating. There's a hashing algorithm where it's math, where it's like you put this can be a very big string. It can be all your files in your project folder. When you hash it, you get a string of like 256 characters, and that's it. Well, it's a shorter one really. I don't know how many. This is really short, right? So, and the salt will be probably something like all the way until here. But that's the idea now. When you compare, where's that? When you compare, you can get the salt from the hash, and then you compare with the password. You getting a little clearer? You can read more about this. This Ruby, Crypt Ruby takes care of this, and it's pretty cool. Rails uses bcrypt by default, so I'm going to explore how to do that. Okay. You know that we use Rails console and then do a.username, do this thing a lot. And this week I want to introduce the concept of testing. And it's important for us to learn a little bit of testing every week, and it will make you a better programmer. Okay? Why do we have seed? So we don't have to type the same seed every time. Why do you have to test? So you don't have to go into Rails console every time. Just run this, Rails test. All right, let's try it. When I run Rails test, it opens something similar to a Rails console. It runs the Rails application, and then it will run some tests that you want it to run. It can create a user if you want it to create, but now I have 0 tests anywhere. The database for tests, it will use a different database, but it will use the same schema as your development database. When you did Rails DB create, remember that it created another database here, so it installed things in there. And where are the test files? It's in the test folder, and you notice there is a structure that's very similar to your app. For this week, focus only models, because that's the easiest way to test. Okay? How do we do that? I go into the model, in test here, I will pick the model that I have. This is the user test. So the only thing you have to do this week, don't worry about anything else, is this method called test, and then here is just a sentence. So a statement, right? For example, can create, somewhere should, have a name, okay? Like that. So I test that my user model should have a name. If I create a user model without a name, this test will fail. How do you check if the user should have a name in the console? Come on. Ian, how do I check if a user should have a name? user.new, and then what? .name. You set it, and then you check. It looks like that, right? So every time if you say, well, does it have a name or does it have an email? It's like that. So I'm going to move this code in here. I have my user.new, okay? It should have a name, so name is Adam. So it's like this. If a.name is the same as Adam, then my test is passed. Right? Else, fail. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to you guys? Seems just like if you write it yourself, and it will look like this. Okay? If I do not create a user model, and I don't have a name column, this will fail. Are we okay with that? But this is not cool. I want to be able to count the number of tests. Mm-hmm.
So I should not put any logic.
No logic. I want the test to be very clear. It's checking that it has the...
If name is not new.
I mean, what are you checking here? Depends. I just want to have a.name is something that I set. Okay?
So you're just making sure that you actually set it up properly.
Set what?
Set it up properly.
Yeah. And it's then you never have to worry if your friend go in there and change the column name to username, this test will fail. It protects your app. If someone changes to first name, last name, and forget to update name, this will fail. So it's useful. It's very important to follow this along, and if you can get this, it puts you above a lot of developers, right? This is the idea that saves you time, not forgetting, you write some code and later it breaks. So understanding how to test your app is very important.
How small is that test for your test?
Very small. Good question. How small? Like as simple, it has to be something as simple as you can. Sometimes not easy, but we try. All right. So pay attention closely. We don't use puts. We use something that it's called assert. So you see assert true here. All right. So when you assert, something has to be true. So you can say assert name is Adam. Okay. Now, you should never write a test that is just, you think it passes, so you write it for it to pass. I prefer you to practice writing a test that failed first, and then after that, you fix to make it pass. Now it fails. Expected false, this is false. To be truthy, it just mean that this is just not true, all right? How do I fix this test to pass? Full? How do I make this test pass? Okay, Ian, what's another way to make this test pass? Well, you guys are super creative. I think I should just change both to Harley. No, it's the same, right? So this is very important. Keep it very clear and succinct. That's good, right? So now if I run this, do you think it will pass? And this is an amazing feeling, right? Like we have one test, a dot here, now it passed. An F here means it failed. So I'm going to add a few more tests to make sure that it works well. First, I feel like maybe my test can be, this also works, so I just do that. It looks shorter, should have a name. Is that okay? Make sure it tests. This test passed. All right, and then there is a better way than comparing this, because notice the error. Okay, notice the error. This error is not useful. Expected false to be truthy. So that's why assert is one way to do it. I say assert equal. I want to test A equals to B. That's a better way to do it. So I'm going to show you assert the first argument. The order doesn't matter, but you should always try to give it a constant. The first one, what you expect it to be true. So in this case, I expect Bob to be Adam. So Ian, do you think it will pass? And when it fails, it is a very useful error message, right? This is a very useful error message that they say between name here and name here. And you do this a lot, assert equal. It's more often than assert true. I'm going to use assert equal and assert not equal most of the time. Great, let's have another thing. Maybe you should have password. Yeah, test should have email. All right. All right, who can help me write STEM? All right, email, and then how do you test it?
Assert underscore equal email.
Like that?
Yes.
A.email?
Yes.
Now first, I want to make sure that it fails first. Because just like when sometimes I show you guys, hey, make sure you refresh the browser, it fails first, and you change, it passes. It means you did the right thing to make it work. So, right? So how do I, something is wrong up there, be very careful. Line 8, so I have to fix the previous test first. Right? Changes to Adam. And then I run this. It will, when it failed the first test, it stopped right there. Alright, so go to the Ian, how do I fix this test? What line? 13? How do I fix this? Alright, changes to C, and it works like this.
So the fail test is just a habit. So
Come again?
in the production, we do not put fail test here.
You, right, I don't want you to write something like should have, name, do, and then, you know, a.user.name, assert equal, nil, a.name, right? And then you think it will pass. Of course it will pass, right? And then later on someone write some changes here like, oh, default name, you know, and set the default name to be no name. And then this test sort of fail and you don't really know why. This is I want things to be very clear. So because sometimes you may do one thing and you like, oh, email is A, B, C, D, and then if the test fail, you're like, oh, I'm going to change the email to something else. You're changing the wrong thing the whole time. So if you can, as you become better, then you can write it one time. But yes, when you commit, you want to get all the tests passed.
Will this take place, well, I guess, take over actually having to run server?
No, I mean, run server is for your user, so you have to run the server, yeah. But it gives you the confidence that when you run the server,
It should all work out.
things work quite well.
And should you structure it like this with as many little tests as possible, or?
There will be a better way to nest, group them. But for now, keep them like this. Yeah, put all of this stuff in the model. So we only write user model test today. And this, yeah.
Does it take time to run the test?
Huh?
Does it take time to run the test?
It takes time. First, it takes time to practice and to do it well. That's why it takes time to make it fail first and then make it pass, right? And then when you become better, you will think better. Then you will write code with fewer bugs. So it saves you time. In some complicated project, for example, if you do a discount, if you write tests first, it saves you a lot of time, back and forth, back and forth. So sometimes writing tests is the faster way to produce the final result. Sometimes. And as you become experienced, sometimes you choose not to write tests because this is just a prototype. You don't want to see how things work back and forth visually. It's okay. But if you are building an application, that is very important. You know, checking the money in the account. If you don't have these tests, one day the things break, you will make some companies lose a lot of money. So I'd rather write the test first and make sure if I write anything, it's good. So I'm not going to force everyone to write tests, but you should always try to write some test as you do it. If you find yourself go Rails console and do that every time, that's okay. Copy the things you write in here into a quip or anything. Store these snippets, but later try to write tests for them. And I'm going to show you that I'm going to write tests before I write code. Whoa. It will fail, but just like doing it the error-driven way last week, in the past few weeks, I'm going to do test-driven. Okay, here's an example. Should have name. Next, I should have password, right? It will be the same thing. If I have password ASDF, then I should be able to say password is ASDF a.password. Is that right? Here's, okay, so maybe Rails test again. That's not interesting. I want to test this. Should not store plain password. Can someone try to write a test for this? Ben, would you like to try? A equals dot new, okay. Password is, how do we know we don't store this? How do you know we don't store it to the database? Yeah?
It's not a string. If it is a string, then we don't store it, right?
You, how do you know?
It's not stored the same way.
Yeah, how do we know we don't store it? In fact, you actually want to create it and then you load it out and see if it works or not. So I create a user, alright? I think this is a valid record. So first I create, alright? That's it. I have this user in the database. Okay? Now I load this user out. Okay? I want to make sure this user is that person. So let's make sure this is a.email. I'm just making sure my data is correct. Now I'm testing. Assert equal. Maybe in this case, I'll just, what do I want to test? A.password. What do you want to test? It's going to be ASDF or what? No, you don't want it to save. You want to test that this is nil. Remember, if we do it in Rails console, a.user.last, you see that guy we created with a password digest, but when I do a.password, it's nil. That's what I want to test. I don't want my code to be able to get the password out. So in this case, user.last, I make sure that it's the same user, and then I make sure the password is nil. Let's run it. Now it will pass, right? It's funny. There's a Rails mini test say, hey, next time don't use assert equal to nil, because comparing nil to nil is that it wants you to compare with assert nil. That's all. That's just another syntax. Assert true, right? So then this will all pass. Okay? Imagine if you save password to the database, if your friend create a user column, a password column in user database, this will fail. So by running this test, you make sure that no one ever, 1 year later, some person feel lazy and say, oh, I can't get this password digest to work. I'm going to create a password column. Why is there no password column? I submit password from the form, I should save it. So this is how you make sure you should not store password.
So the password test here, first we test the email, right?
Mm-hmm.
After that, we take the password. If the process that there are several steps, and then later we use we need to use the data from the previous test.
Yeah. Very good. So later, if we want to use data between tests, I will show you later, right? Right now, every time you run a test, it's a very new database, zero data. Just keep it really simple. For this time, let's do that. Now tell me, what's another important method here I want to test? Thank you. If your valid password is not well tested, this application is useless, right? So valid password, and it's a method, so I write something like pound here. So I'll test valid password, right? Should work, for example. Give me an example that this will work as a test. Would you like to try? First, I want to maybe create a user. This user, right? And then I get this user out. So you can just say I create this user. And now you say a.validPassword. Let's give it a wrong password. This should be false. So you can say assert not. I forgot now. Maybe let's set equal. This is false. If you stop, just use anything that worked. And then here assert equal is true for ASDF, right? However, just do one thing at a time to be extra sure. Everything else pass up there. So let's go run. Okay, so it's really false. It's good. Imagine if someone here, try to write something incorrect. Why? And then you run this. Uh-oh, that's not good. It only tests for false. Now I need to test for true, right? Let's see. It will be false here, right? Now I need to go and fix this code to really compare it. And only in both cases, this valid password now has been tested. You should maybe try out more, like if you pass in valid password with nothing, so it should also be false. Maybe nil should also be false. Test it with 1, like a number. Who knows, right? Test it with a user. Like, you can try to really break things and see. And then if it all works like this, then you can feel very confident about your valid password method. Does that make sense to you guys? And it can be pretty beautiful. It's all there, it works. That's valid password. I think, for example, sometimes people do create here. I don't know, does it work? Probably it doesn't. It won't work.
Bcrypt automatically set limitations on the type of password that's going to be created?
What limitation? No. What kind of limitation are you thinking of?
Well, we put in the number. Oh yeah, because numbers are input, it would be a string.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, in this case, I'm just comparing. I don't know if Bcrypt actually, for example, password here is, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can test this and then run it again. Maybe create another test. Like Bcrypt can handle, test, valid, Bcrypt can handle password as, non-string, right? And make sure it doesn't crash, for example. But in this case, we always give it a string, but let's try. Run it. And there's something going on here, 35. So there's something weird going on, right? It doesn't. That's good, that's good. So it should be, here's an interesting case. Would it work? You're comparing a number with a number. I don't think it works. It will be false. This will crash. Uh-oh, shit. It's bad, no? I guess everything just converted to number. So we learned something without having to go to Rails console, create a new user. You see how fast that is for you to understand that, Bcrypt just convert anything that you give as a string. So it will pass if you say valid password string 1, 2, 3, pass if you say valid password number 1, 2, 3. Even a string here. So it's a bit strange, but Ruby is quite forgiving. Right? Uh-oh. Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. 1, 2, 3 here. Interesting. That's that's right. But we learned something. So we learned that valid password. This could be true for 1, 2, 3 as well. So I just tested valid password.
So the test is only used for the quick end, so the JavaScript.
There are tests for the front end, but right now we only learn about this back end model. It's the easiest. Because normally you test in the console, instead of going to the console, you type this here. You feeling better about it? Okay, now let's go into how Rails actually do things. So Rails provide you a helper. It looks like this. You have hash many in a user. Rails provide you something called hash secure password. Alright, so in the lab you will do this. I no longer have to do it myself. It's quite interesting. I don't have to do the def password thing myself. Imagine you have to do it every time. Every time you build your app. Rails say, don't. All of this code, let me write it for you. Okay? So Rails will say hash secure password. That's it. All you have to type. And when you do this, what Rails is doing is that it will require you to have bcrypt gem, right, installed. So that's in your gem file. It will define the password attribute for you. Alright, it will also store the digest, the password hash into password digest for you. Okay, now for those of you who want to be serious, you can click on the link, and this is how they do it in the source. This is Rails source code, and they do it. They have the password, and they add validation for password. So it's quite cool. But of course, you don't have to worry about it. Just know that when you call hash secure password in your user model, this is what you get. Read the instruction here. You get a password validation. Okay? And it's stored to password digest. So let's see if it works. I am going to, now the user only does that. I go to Rails console. I do user.new as usual. And look, nothing is there, but if I do a.password equal ASDF, right? A.password digest is set. Look, I have nothing about a.password. Rails does it for me. Okay? If I save, I will get a crash, and then okay, email cannot be blank. I set email, and I save it. It's true. That's good. So I have a user with a password ASDF. Let's say I create another user. But this time without a password. Validation, password cannot be blank. You see, I have no validation up here. I did not do validates password presence true. Rails does it for me in their password here. So Rails does it, and there's a length here and a present somewhere. So just know that here, if the password is blank, it will display an error. Okay. So it's quite interesting because it has a few more validation. Password length should be more than 72 characters. So if you type more than that, Rails also there's an error. For example, here I can do that. Password is let's say letter A, and then I do it with 80 characters like that. Password is too long. Pretty cool. Here's one cool thing that you will have to do in your lab. Let's say I have A is this user. I change password into something else, another value. Alright? Okay? Normally when you change password or when you sign up, you have to ask for password confirmation, right? So I say another, but I make a typo, and I save. Password confirmation doesn't match. So this is a very common thing that Rails also does it for you. So there's a validate confirmation that we never really use, but if you do validate confirmation, it accepts another column, password and password confirmation.
We override the secure password.
Yes, but don't create your own. Yeah. So either you use it or you don't. For example, this really help you with validation, and it's very simple and use bcrypt. So if you don't use any other library this week, only use this, and you can still build a very secure application with user login. You don't make the mistake that someone else look at your app and say, "Oh, you don't know computers. Why do you still plain password?" And you may be surprised. The whole internet is still doing it. Like until very recently, the CGV app. They have the new version now, but like the CGV website and a few other basic restaurant website, movie ticket, they make the mistake of storing plain text password. It's convenient, right? They email people plain text password. When you see someone email you plain text password, that website probably keep it, and it's quite common. So by learning this, you're already better than those 20th century programmers. Okay. So has secure password, has an interesting use, and you can read all about it here. I will link it there, and in your lab you will do the exercise. Now instead of a valid password, I don't think there is a valid password. Maybe valid. Is there a valid password? How do I check if a password is is password? Right? Something like that. But user, they provide this method called authenticate. So instead of valid password, there's an authenticate method. So here's an example. If you have a user, if you call authenticate, it's very similar to my valid password. We just learned that. So a.valid password no longer use this. Let's just use their function authenticate. What is my password? Another? No, right? Authenticate, this will return, oh wow, it is really another. I really need to save it though. So password, confirmation, another. Now I can save, yeah? True. Now valid password is now called authenticate. If it's another, it's true, but it returns the user. And anything else, it returns false. So instead of true and false, it returns a user. It just returns A really, or it returns false. And we will run our test. Instead of valid password here, I will change or anything that's valid password really. Valid password here, change it to authenticate. So I'm going to go here, authenticate, authenticate, authenticate. Now I also need to change my test. Something else is going to fail. What is it? This is going to return A instead of true. Don't worry, this authenticate thing you will have to do it so you understand. All tests pass. I just skip one step. I should mess things up a little bit, right? And then really make sure that, okay, did I run that test? Oh, fail. Okay, that's exactly it. Okay, good. I'm running this test. Everything passed. Alright, so you see we have a user model with a few tests. These are all good. So let's commit, right? Add user model with test. We're done with the boring stuff. I'm going to go very fast now. I'm going to implement the user sign up. Alright, so let's implement user sign up. What do we need to add? We have to work with the view now. Bootstrap? Are we okay adding Bootstrap? Ruby, Gem, Bootstrap. Oh, wrong one. This will be here. Gem file, Bootstrap, Ruby. Cannot remember this stuff. How do I find it? It's right here. Okay. So go to Gem file. Add it to the bottom here. Run it, bundle. And what else do we need to do? We need to rename the file asset stylesheet application.css, move it to stylesheet application.scss. Thank you. And now I go to the SCSS file. I remove everything. I need to import Bootstrap. Right? That's it. My application just bootstrap. Now, that is not enough. I need to have some view. That's good though. It's still. Now we need to generate our first ever controller. Rails generate controller, home controller index. And how do we go to home index? In here, we say root home index. Right? And almost there, we go to application layout. Let's make it a little pretty. And here I add a div container here. Yeah? So I add div container. It's been a while, so let's just do this. I removed a lot of plugin already. So okay, good. Anything else that need to be done for it to work? Rails server should work. All right. Rails server localhost 3000. All right. That if you don't see this is the sans serif font. You know this the bootstrap way, not the system one. And now we need to do the login situation, right? Let's go to home index. Let's really log the user in. So here is welcome guest, right? Let's make a link to login. No, we need not login. Set up, create an account. All right. So this will be we go to something to create an account. New user path. That sounds like good. So how do we have a new user path route helper? Yeah. So now after you add this resources thing, remember go to 3000/Rails info. Make sure new user path here. Good. Go to new user dot slash. That's good. So I have this app right here. Reload. I need to save this file. New user path. Okay. Create an account. Right. Make it look a little prettier. Button. Primary. All right. Create an account. I need to go here. Now, if I click here right now, I don't have the user controller and everything. So, what should we do? Rails generate controller. Users. New. That's good enough. So I go to new. Now go to users new. Let's create a form. Alright, so here will be create an account. Alright, and here we need to create a form. Now sometimes you're lazy and you say user.new here. Okay, then you don't have to go to the controller. Right, I'm not going to be lazy. I'm just going to say user there. And this is my form. So far you still remember this much. I need this user to work, so I go here and I do define user is user.new. Is it good? I need to create a form. So in here I have form group, and then inside form group, oh, I wish I had this plugin. I don't want to type. What else? Form group. Let's see. Just type it. Form group. Inside this form group, I have the form input, right? F dot. Text field. Text field is here is you're creating a new account. What are the fields that you need? Name? Alright, so let's set a class here. So this is called form control. Okay, so I have one. In fact, actually, I'm gonna copy this guy. That's a second, that's a third. Right? And then here, instead of name, the second one will be email. The third one will be password. And if you want, you can have password confirmation too. So maybe let's do that. But a good user interface these days doesn't use password confirmation anymore, because if you forget, you just reset with your email. Still, we're going to put it here so we can learn. Looks good, right? Yeah. Anything else? I need a submit button.
Yes.
F.submit will be here. Create account, right? Or register a lot of names that you want. Sometimes, if your audience is not native English speakers, if you use sign up and sign in everywhere, that can be pretty confusing. You may want to use login or register or create account. The difference between that is clear. All right, so let's see if this can work. Name, email, password. It looks a little weird, but it looks like this. Kind of nice. It's like I don't see any text. Who can fix this? You can put a name or just do placeholder there. Here will be your name, and then you do the same thing here for email. Same thing here for so that's this one thing at a time. Email here, placeholder, password, and one more thing here, which is confirmation. Okay, and sometimes you want to make this a little smaller than this really disgusting big thing. You can use the div class card, and you can group it with a card block. Really, actually, let's make it div inside class block. Put the whole thing here inside this div. All right, and again, indentation. Does it look good? 2 spaces each, still good. It's a bit weird. 2 spaces, still good, right? I do want something, maybe a div, class card header, maybe. And in this case, maybe I just say h1 class card heading, right? Register. It may make the top one redundant, but we'll just see. All right. That's not bad. The light color there will go, and then I don't need this create account thing anymore. That looks pretty good, except I need the nav bar to go back to the home page. Let's do that later. And anything else, I need this card to be smaller, really, right? So I'm going to call this a user card. Add one more class here. Maybe a login card, right? A register card. Okay. Now, if I call this a register card, I go to style sheet. Remember the whole user controller, and I add style there. Register card. Let's make the register card to have a width 300 pixel. Is it okay? That's better. To really use this, you need to go to application CSS here and go import users. Hey, I have a home controller too. Maybe if I have anything that I import home. So you import all of these guys. Now this will look like that. It's looking better on different screen. It probably will work okay. Okay, if you want, you can style it a little bit more. For example, this is a bit ugly. Users new again. The button, I forgot to make this button sexy. All right. So let's make this work. Let's go to controller. We need to create something. What is it? A create action, because if you press here, there's no create action. So, all right, how do we handle the create action? User again. User dot. All right, sure. Create, and what params? Name? What?
Text.
This by now you probably will use this a lot, user param, and then down here you create that private method. If you forget the word private here, it's okay, but it's just to make it very clear to read. All right, params dot require user. What do you permit?
Name,
So you want to permit all the guys that got submitted. That's clear? So now if the user was saved, I like to maybe make sure that this user new if user.save else end. Okay? If the user saved, then maybe I redirect to root path. Maybe I add a flash message here. Right? User created. And then down here, what do I want to do? Yeah, so you do need this fallback location. It's a bit weird, but it means sometimes the browser may not have the history, then you have to use your add to add this. So, however, if there's an error, how do you display it?
Invalid.
Here's the cool thing. The user variable here, the user variable here is defined. This is something that you saw last time. It's a bit hard to understand. I call render new. It means please go and render the new .html.erb file for me. But don't run the code in the action here. Only render the template. So these two actions share the same template. So it means when I render though, I have the user object, but this user object has something else. It has user.errors. Oh wow, I mean a lot of head nodding. So it means this is good. You guys are getting this part? It means I'm going to make this, create the Rails console over here because I don't have to care about it. So, and then let's make this bigger for you guys to see. And now I go to the view. User new. Here, remember this form for user thing here? What if now I can display some errors? So I'm going to do maybe if there's an error, I can display here. If user.errors, yeah? If it's not empty, so you can say unless empty, it's an array, right? You can use the present thing. Rails, there's too many ways to do this. I'm really sorry. There's too many ways, unless it's empty or anything. Just use any English sentence you can remember. All right, if there's an error, then what do? I take each errors, yeah? But actually you can just say full messages, error, like that. And I display it. So that I just display in the bullet error dot, I think that's it, right? So, and here let's put it in a UL. Okay. Maybe we can say we style this to be like, user errors. Okay. So you can style it in your CSS. I'm going to style that right away. CSS user here. Let's style this user errors. This will be color brown. All right. Wow, that's a lot of code. See if this works. This is your server right there. Oh, that's pretty cool, isn't it? I get when you add. Why do I have some extra stuff? Does anyone know?
You didn't close the lead tag, right? You just added a second one.
I did not close. Somehow I displayed the error twice.
Yeah, after the error, the tag, it's not closing.
Oh wow! Thank you. So let's make it bigger. A lot easier to see now. And then down here, let's try again. So name, in this case, name is, I don't know, email is going to example.com, enter. Awesome. So now you can see this very fast. It allows you, it remember all, and look the amazing part. Press enter, it keep all the existing data, right, for you. So this is, the existing data is saved because you're using user params that's in the user object. And then you're using the form for user. So when you use form for user, f.text field will understand. If you do user.new here, good luck. Then every time you press create account there's nothing. If you use that user object, it already has the content. Does it make sense to you guys? I give you user.new here. For example, I say name is hello, right? User.text field name will actually use that. So let's try. And you see hello. That's why it's powerful if you use this convention. And you see sometimes editing a user and maybe updating a user is very similar. So you will see this a lot. Take this whole thing and turn it into a partial. You guys have learned partial in Sinatra. I'm going to use partial in here, okay? So the view is users. The partial will be in the same place if needed. So I create a new view users. Instead of new, I create this called form. HTML.erb. And I copy this whole form in here, okay? That is the form, okay? And then I save it. Obviously, then down here you see that there's a form here, right? Now up there, how do I use the form? Render. So instead of ERB, remember, render. And when you render with, you don't have to put underscore here. It understands that's a partial. It's the same as saying partial form, right? But it's the same.
You don't have to put quotes on it either, do you?
Huh?
You don't have to put quotes on it.
You don't have to put this.
I saw I'll do it today.
And only if form is a variable. It cannot. If you do it render user, like if you do this, it will understand. But we will get there later. So if it's a variable, then it will understand what partial name it should use. You cannot just put a random word here like form. Then it will cry and say, I don't know what form variable is. Undefined variable or method form. The most popular error. Alright, so you have this. Okay? When you use a local, when you use a partial, what did I remind us last time? Don't use instance variable inside. It's a bit dangerous. I want to be able to reuse the form somewhere else, so maybe I say user. Okay? I pass in the user. So the second argument, you will see this. I pass in the user that I have up here. And then down here, then I just use this variable. If I forget to pass, if I pass in nil anything, it will crash. So this form becomes useful. So let me just do it without. You guys will see that it will crash. Undefined local variable user, that's good. Then now I create this user, and then this user is defined, and now it is understood. So everything works as normal. Okay? So later a user, instead of registering, you can use something that is updating user profile using the same form. It will work. Alright, take a deep breath and think. I have not even created any user ever. I just make all these errors. So I'm gonna make, create the first ever, a1@example.com. My name is A1. I'm gonna create a password that works, okay? Oh wait, there's one more thing I need to fix this form. What's going on here?
Oh, it shouldn't show the password.
Should not show the password. How do you fix that?
Password field.
That's right. So if you do password field, the password will not be automatically filled anymore. You have to re-enter the password. And password field is different from nothing too crazy. It's just something that has the word input type password, right? This is the type password instead of type text. Okay? So just like type number. So now you have to enter both and then create. Awesome. We created a user, and we can go here and create a console and then check the last one. That's the user I just created. What was that user's password? You guys did not see me typing it, huh? Authenticate. Now you guys know my favorite password. Don't try it with my Gmail account. So we need to remember now the user was signed in already. Let's sign the user in. Remember how we do it with the cart, shopping cart? Can anyone think of a way to sign this user in? After you save the user, let's do something. Log in this user. Sounds good? I write here, just the logic can be here, so it's simpler, but imagine I have this method, then it works. If you implement this method, how do you do it?
Save it to
Session user ID is wow, that's really simple, isn't it? So it means I am going to implement this method that I can use everywhere. So maybe I put it in the application controller here, def login, right? I take a user object, and this will be session user ID is user.id. If I have this method, now up here I can call this. Does that make sense? Because this controller inherit from application control up there, login. So it's quite clear, no? Later though, maybe when I need to use log out user. How do you log out as user? Just like destroy cart.
Set session ID now.
You can do this, or you can do this. I believe it also works, but this will clear everything else. This will clear your shopping cart, clear everything.
Can we print session ID to the view?
Sure. Session is accessible in the controller and the view. So if you want to debug, why not, right? Here in the body here, you say like, oh, div, style, 1 pixel solid red. Okay, I'm going to debug this session.inspect. Yeah? You want to see the session?
Yeah, I want to see it.
All right, let's see the session. Sorry, there's so much. And have fun. There's a lot of stuff here that obviously if you show the user, then your application is guaranteed to be hacked. Okay, so you don't want that, it's a bit too much. Although you want it to look pretty, you can just say debug. That is a faster way. And I can just delete the surrounding tag like that. And I go here. It looks like this. Uh-oh, that's... Okay, it's not that pretty, huh? But you can do session ID here, right? At least then you actually take a look and okay, right now session is nothing, right? This is the YAML structure, it's nothing. Of course, instead of debug, again you keep this thing and then you say session.id.
We didn't have it earlier.
Right, we did not. Let's try again. Create an account. This time it's going to remember. Remember that? Because we have this login line. Alright, let's try it. a2.example.com. Ready? Create. And then there's this user's ID 6 there. That is pretty cool. So it means now I need to display welcome guest as a welcome user, no? And this is something new. Remember the get cart?
Oh, yeah. But if he has a name, we could just say welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Username.
Yeah. So how do you display welcome username? Home index here. How do you display this? Do you do user.find session ID like that?
Wouldn't it be name though? Because
And then .name. Yes, this, come on, that work. But this will crash if you go to a different browser and run it and it's like, oh, I cannot find it. Right? So similar to your get cart, you want something like get user. And from now on, we're going to use a convention. We're going to call it current user. All right? In a lot of apps. Everyone will say current user. So you can use current user anywhere. Oh, is this user signing in or not? If current user. So I have a current user now. If I run this, what happens? Of course, no current user. So I have to define it. Okay? Now you can define current user in your application helper. But remember in your cart last time, let's just do it in current user here. Okay, and you can define here helper method, current user. Then your view can use this current user method. So for example, here user.last, then now everything works. But except that's sort of not good, right? Home index. This is your current user. So welcome current user dot name. All right, let's fix the current user method to be smart. How can we fix current user to be smart here? If session user ID, then user.find session user ID. Okay? If not, maybe return nil. Yeah? That is pretty cool because now I have, actually here's the problem.
Guess, right?
Yeah, so now we have to go into this page. We need to say if current user is not nil, then say welcome. If not, is it better?
Yeah, that's
All right, so in this case, we're going to say H1 welcome guest. All right, so run this, welcome this, and then if you run the localhost with an incognito browser, welcome great, right? Obviously, you have a sign out button over here. Now, here's a problem. If you just say welcome and then somewhere down here you need to use current user again. For example, your profile information, div, profile, and then you actually displaying this user like div, strong email is current user dot email. Anything else that we need to display? Name, email, that's it, right? So let's look. That's pretty good. When you look at the log, however, you see that user load. I showed you the other day. We don't want to hit the database every time you call current user. Okay? How do we fix this? The way you write the current user method in your app will always be very similar. First, if I will use a current user instance variable, okay? So I say return this variable if this variable already exists. Okay? If it's not exist, right? It doesn't exist yet, I will set this current user to be this value. Okay? That's it. So it's quite clever because now look at this same home page, right? No longer these many lines, load shorter, right? It only load current user once, and that's it. And you guys see that? It saved a little time. Okay? So in your app, now you have current user everywhere. It can be nil if the user is not signed in, or it can be a user record. Okay. Now, of course, if somehow you guys run into this problem, user.last.destroy, you delete this user. So now you go back here. What's going to happen? Cannot find this user. When you run into this, don't freak out. You can have the session here. You can check session user ID here. Oh, that's 6. You can clear it if you like. I think you can clear it like this too. And then this will be nil. So if you refresh, wow, it doesn't work. Oh, you cannot clear it from here, right? Let me clear it from the controller. Let me clear on this home page. Here.
I had something similar, and I just cleared the browser.
Yeah, of course, you clear the cookie in the browser is fine. Make sure you choose localhost. You don't want to clear everything else. Then all your safe password will be gone. So let's see. I load this page. I always clear it. Let me see if it works. Then it works. So you have to clear it in the controller itself. Then you remove it. That's it. Just do it once and remove it. So your session has been cleared. This is the fastest way for you compared to going to localhost and everything. Now, that is user login, ladies and gentlemen. How do you log out? Dun, 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 dun. To implement logout, there's a new concept. It's called controlling your session. When you log in, you actually create a session. When you log out, when you delete a session. Does that sound like a resource thing for you? So imagine I go to the page called new session path, and then I call here is the destroy session path. It's very similar to new user path and destroy user path. Okay? And this is another just convention. Because it looks like this, the way I implement it, I'm going to first commit everything that I've done, right? So much code. Let's just say git commit, implement, sign up, right? Now I need to implement sign in. And sign in here is a fascinating part. Rails generate controller. What is the controller that I'm hinting? Sessions controller. I have two actions, new and create. And I normally don't generate a create action because I don't have a view for it. I don't have a view for my for the create action. So normally I just do just new. So I have session slash new file that I can change here. Okay? It means here I need to create an account here. I need another button. Let's call this button sign login. Yeah? What is the path? New session path. Now, this is a bit confusing. If you don't have a session model. But if you do resources sessions, also you only have really new action, create action, destroy action, like that. Yeah? Something like that. But it's okay. I don't really like it very much. You can do, if you do that, then you can have new session path. You can do, I don't like too much magic there. I just say sessions slash new as a controller. But then here I have maybe I name something better. Login path. Does it read better to you guys? Login path. And then here will be log out. Oh, login, log out, sign in, sign out. Someone help me. Should be maybe sign in. Okay. Someone find a better name for it, right? But I like to put them in the sessions controller like this. It means if I have this now, if I have, oh, damn it, sorry, reload this, and let's define, there's an error, okay, sorry about that. Sessions new, we're going to go to login path, or go to session controller new action, and we're going to define a logout path. It's going to go to sessions. We clear on that. It's still good. And now session controller, we have this new here, and we're going to take care of the login button. Yeah. So refresh here. Uh-oh. Where's the home index here? New, use the name up here. Can someone tell me what path helper I should use? Login path. So it's always based on this name, right? So you have root path, logout path, login path. So now I have this login button. Let's maybe change it to something else, more contrast. If I click this, it should take me to this place. Oh, why are you smiling? It's getting exhausting, no? So, all right, let's implement this. Here's when your form 4 doesn't work anymore. Isn't it? It's a bit weird. How would you all use form 4 in the past? I'm going to use only form like this, right? I have this to go to my logout path, not login. That works. And I'm going to have very standard input here. It's a text string, and it's going to be email. And another one input, text. It's going to be name. That's that. And maybe this will be your placeholder, will be, no, it's not name, password. Placeholder, email. What is the type here?
Password.
So then you implement this. It looks like this. This is your form. Maybe add a class here, down here, add class equal form, what? Bootstrap. Add form control to both of them. And it looks like that, a little bit better. Add, a little bit of a div class equal form group, like that. All right, I'll just add this here. Close this at the end. It looks better, and then there's a button, and we're done. Log in. Submit. This is fine. Class button primary secondary. All right, so we're gonna log in. When we click login, where does it go? Uh-oh.
Sessions show, right?
Oh, that's not good. When you click login, where does it go?
Just in session show.
Are you sure? What is the method here? Post. So you click your login. It will try to go to post login. Do we have a rule for it? So post login should go to sessions create, right? So now I handle, for example, here, let's change this to login. That's it, looks good. Now I change the controller sessions. I add this, create. This is something that we have to work together. We learn all this user.authenticate stuff only so we can use it here. Are you ready to do that? So I'm gonna just crash this. Okay? I am going to log in. Wow. That's not good. Actually, I can't do this myself. So we're almost there. Except Rails doesn't like it when you create a form yourself and you submit to this page. Rails does one more thing. It protects from faking your form from somewhere else. When you submit, I can skip that, but it's not a good idea. When you submit this form, you think it's quite simple there, but there is a thing that is missing in this form. It's the authenticity token. I'm going to show you the other form so you see this form, yeah? You guys see this? This is a security measure, and this key is based on the content you have in the form. So no one can tell. It's like just look at the whole form and actually create an authenticity token. It's more complicated than that. There's an authenticity token up there as well. So then they combine this and then go down here and generate this authenticity token for the form. Okay. If you work with API, you don't have the authenticity token. A mobile phone, when you submit a username and password, that's a different story. We'll learn it. But from the web, you don't want someone else to create a form that looks like Facebook. Log in. You enter the Facebook login. They store the data, your password first, and then they log you into Facebook. Right? And then it works. No. You don't want that. Facebook will just deny. So our app is quite secure. Okay? So the way to make this work is we should use Rails form. Unfortunately, also fortunately, how do you do that with up here? Last time I showed you form 4 and I showed you how this works. You see the name tag over here is quite simple, email and password. So you get params password, params email. This is the form tag. You go form tag, you tell it where to go. So you tell it to go to login path, which is similar to telling it to go to /login. Okay, that's the same. So you pass in the URL. Almost there, guys. the lab you will finish repeat all of this. So it's all in the video. So params name has to come from something. It will be text input field. Text field tag. So there's no more F for you. Okay? There's no more F. There's just text field tag. This is name. And that's the syntax you have to remember. Name, email, and do we need name? When you log in, do you need name? So no need. Name, email. Right? And then you submit. So then this is submit tag. I'm going to keep it really ugly. Anything? Yo, everyone's awake. That's really strange. I expect everyone to be like exhausted by now. So when you do it fast, then people stay awake. Now this form and the form above, I want you to look at the difference, right? This form, so ugly. As here, this form is very similar to the form above, but if you do it by hand, you don't have the char set UTF thing, and you don't have this hidden authenticity token, right? So that's all. Down here, these two things are the same. So now I will get rid of this. You already understand how it works. And now you use this.
Question. Why does it say tag? What does tag mean?
Where's that?
Just in the form tag.
It's just a style in the browser.
Yeah, so this is a tag really. Form tag means
Oh, HTML tag.
HTML tag.
Okay.
So, but sometimes they don't really do it. Instead of saying image tag, oh, I think here you do say image tag. Yeah. The only case is different, like link to, it's instead of like a tag, you know. But it say link to because it read more like English. But you do have image tag. So submit tag, form tag. Okay, so text field tag, password tag. Then now I have a form. Let's save it.
Okay. Sorry, maybe you explained it, but difference between form for and form tag. Like when do I decide when?
Do you have a model? Yes, so initially this will be confusing. So if you do an object here,
So form for is when I have an object.
yeah. So check out the difference. When you do this, then you do f dot
Yeah.
what?
Text.
Text field, let's say email, right? And if you do that password field, password, when you submit, what do you get? You get this and you get this. Am I right? When you submit up there, what do you get? Very straightforward. So you don't have to do the whitelist anymore. That's the difference. Stay with me. Did someone pass out? Man, everyone's still awake.
When I use the form and not just perhaps a password, I need to stick it to the user.
When you use the form, you stick it to the user. Let's find out. Now I delete all of this because you don't need that. I just press submitted. Now I get to sessions controller create. Alright. Check this out. My controller session controller create. Look at my request. I have email and password. Okay? So here's how you do it. If user equals, so you need to try to find the user, right? User.find, find by what? Thank you. Email, what is the email? Oh, guys. There, right? Okay, so let's say if you can find the user, then something cool is going to happen here. We don't know yet. But if not, then you can say, what? You can just render new again. But then now there's an error, right? I just redirect back, okay? For now, I just redirect back. Redirect to login path, flash. Oh shit, I need to display flash, right? I haven't displayed flash yet. Oh. Alright, flash, success. What? No, not success. Let's flash notice. Invalid email. Is it okay? So now I need to display the flash. I'm going to go the really lazy way. I'm going to display the flash right here. Alert, 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 warning, flash, notice. Is that okay? Is that okay? It will always be there, but if you enter a wrong email, I will go here. So nothing happened here yet, okay? I don't care. So let's log in. Why are you going here, man? It's not safe. Okay. No longer to have that. Invalid email. I have a pretty good, powerful form. Invalid email. So what if the email is right? Like A1 at example.com, then press this. Then you go into this code. I need to check, besides email now, I need to check what? Check what? Password. How do I check if this password is correct for this user? Thank you. Authenticate with this password. So then you say if authenticate is not false. Then what do you do here?
Set session ID to...
Hell yeah, you already have a method for that. Yeah? If not, I redirect again. This time I say invalid.
Can we see login, the login method again? I don't remember.
Sure. So, I do have to redirect to root path, flash, notice, login, right? Or welcome or whatever. Now you're asking to see the login method again. That's it. So I'm going to test all three, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3 different cases, right? Let's try. This time, invalid password. Let's try again. Nothing, invalid email. With some email, invalid email. Correct email, invalid password. And correct email, correct password. It works, and it go in here. It's empty because maybe I made some mistake here. Oh.
Success?
That's a bit. Log in here, flash. I don't know. Did I make a typo? I log in. I'm not sure of this one. That's weird.
You don't necessarily need anything there, though.
You don't. But why is it not showing? I thought it was. Huh? But they all are noticed here. Flash notice, flash notice, flash notice. Here. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. It's not too important. We can, if you run into this problem, I'm happy to troubleshoot for you. This is getting way too long. But this is an experiment that walk you through the ability to follow from that's handling the user, and there's an authenticate method. But now you're implementing the login form and the sign up form. For the rest of the afternoon, you repeat this exercise in pair. Hopefully, a few things you see here will come back. So that's all it is for this afternoon. Any final question before you see? That is the top one is log in. This is sign up. Log in, sign up. Log in is quite difficult, huh? Because you have to check email and then you show if the email is correct or not. And then if email is correct, then you check if the password is correct or not. Right? I will give you this screenshot. There. Uh-oh. Oh yeah, yeah, it's just, okay. I don't really, I mean, right now it display every time. And because we use the lazy flash way. So this diff is always there. But yeah, so I keep this, any other method you want to see? This page, anything you want to see before you start your lab? This is log in. That is, up there is log.
So we didn't do sign up.
This is sign up.
Sign out.
Sign out? Oh, sign out.
Log out.
It means you need a session destroy. And then here you call log out. It's super easy, right? Remember the application controller? This one? So you log out that user. Log out current user. And then redirect to root path. So you can implement this yourself. Sign out is nothing rocket science.
And on every page, like within the app, session is checked automatically. Yeah.
Yeah, so there is this magical current user method that you can use everywhere.
Ah, okay. So that one is called everywhere, and that's why.
You can use everywhere, yeah. So let's see. This is sessions. This is log out. This is login. This is let's make it a little bigger for you guys. All right, that's destroy, and then down here is current user. It's nice to have this one. Maybe it's uses there. Log out, log in, current user. Anything else that may be worth seeing? Oh, user model. That's it. Right? Huh? Oh, sure. So here's the route. Uh-oh. That is messing up my layout. That's the route. The route's quite easy to see, huh? Log out here. Some people may want to do delete. Just do get for now. Just do get. There's a link that if you go to /logout, it just clear the session. Okay. It's getting there. It's getting there. It's tired. Let's go take a long reserve break and then I'll just give. That's the cheat sheet. That's everything you need to know for the week. Just kidding. From now until the end of the week, you just need to implement this.